Beautiful Sunday to you. On the headlines today. Oh my, Tinubu is the Biafra we've been looking for. SDP secures another landmark victory over INEC on election timetable. We'll be right back after this break. Don't go anywhere. Joining us now to break down these headlines on Citizens Dialogue is a political analyst, Ugochukwu Ifeanyichukwu. It's a pleasure to have you join us on our Sunday show, Ugochukwu. How are you doing today?
I'm good.
Happy Sunday to you.
Happy Sunday to you. Everything in Nigeria is happy, and when you check and weigh us, we are not happy as a nation. And again, Cassie, a lot of churches, a lot of people going to churches, and you now ask the evil that is bedeviling us. Let's set aside the ones that are, fostered upon us by the government, the inaptitude of the people who say they are governing over us, whom we have willingly surrendered our will and obedience to. Let's set that aside. But when you come to our local communities, our areas, estate, and where we find ourselves to do business and work, you also find out that it is same people who are going to church on Sunday that are perpetuating some of the evils that are bedeviling us, bribery, shortchanging people in the market and business places and all that. You begin to ask, where is our faith and Christianity?
All right, then, Ugochukwu, thank you so much for that opening. Let's quickly, look into what we actually have today, because everybody knows that today is Sunday, and whether you like it or not, it is the Lord's Day, and I hope you went to church to go and say thank you to Jesus.
Well, I always pray. Prayer is not only done in the churches. Prayer is, God say, pray without ceasing.
Yeah.
So happy Sunday to Nigerians and all those watching us around the world.
All right, a quick one. Nigerian Minister of Works, David Umahi, that's the former governor of Ebonyi State, has sparked massive national debate after he declared that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu represents the Biafra Ndibo have been looking for. He made this comment during the APC event in Ebonyi State, where he was urging the Southeast region to drop separate political motions, ambitions, and fully back President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's in his re-election that he's come back in 2027. So how does this statement trivialize the historical, the emotional, and the structural grievance of the Igbo people? That's question one. And then, is this his statement politically responsible for a serving governor to use a sensitive, historically charged term like Biafra as a metaphor for federal patronage?
Cassie, David Umahi need to be schooled, with all due respect. David Umahi, I don't know what was his age when people fought for Biafra, and when let Dim Chukwemeka Odimegojukwu, God rest his soul, the Ezigbo Buruburu, fought for Biafra, and what they call the pogrom, the killing of Igbos in the north. You recall with nostalgia and the sense of loss, how Igbo people were treated only because Chukwuma Kaduna Nzogu bears Igbo name. And today, in the Nigerian creation of the 6 geopolitical zones, that particular Delta state belongs to the South-South region. What an irony, Cassie. But because of that particular name, and just like the Zik of Africa was born in Zengero, in the now Niger State, when it was Gongola State. I'm giving you history because we are students of history, though we are not born there, but we are people who go into history to be able to make an informed, opinion when we speak. We're not speaking from a position of vacuum, but we are speaking from a position of knowledge. So Zik of Africa was born in Zungeru in Niger State, then Gongola State. And his name, he was also attached to the name where he was born. That was why they call him Zik, Zungeru. And then you cannot say that because he was born there, he is from the north. Then Chukwemeka Nzogu was also born in Kaduna State. That's why you hear the name Chukwuma Kaduna Nzogu in the name. And because he was the arrowhead, or one of the masterminders of the 1966 July coup that caused the death of Tafawa Balewa, the Premier of Nigeria, and some other notable figures, that tag remained on the Igbos till today. Even it's affecting I that did not know what happened then. And that is why now Umahi needed to be schooled about the suffering and the name tag the Igbos are having. And that is what metamorphosed into the creation of the Biafran state. That is why the Igbos continue to suffer that. Even the late Governor General or Head of State, then Agu Ironsi, who hails from Abia State, was killed in Ibadan because of the sin of one man, as perceived by the other ethnic groups in Nigeria, that the Igbos organized a coup against the North. And that Igbos continue to suffer it until 1967. When the Eastern region could not take it again, the Eastern elders came together and mandated Ojukwu that if we could not declare the Republic of Biafra, they will do it themselves in the Eastern National House of Assembly. And that was why Ojukwu declared hurriedly about that. And when an opportunity presented itself for the Aburi Accord in Ghana, Gowon, who I was listening to, told a lot of unfounded lies against Ojukwu in his book that I now saw him, trying to mend fences, because most of those people, Effiong, Ojukwu, all of them are dead. So David Umahi should go back to history and read in Biafra, Africa Died. Read why Ojukwu said, because I'm involved. Read some histories about the Biafran genocide, 1967 to 1970. Then he will now come and tell us that only Tinubu infrastructure, when you know that Biafra is a spirit, Biafra is a life of the people. And you're not talking about somebody citing infrastructural development, meaning that it is Biafra. He doesn't even know what the Biafran spirit carries. Biafra is what they call the horn of Biafra in the old Nigerian map. Kasi, when you go today, go and check it. And those that are listening to me should go and check. Biafra is not an Igbo name. Biafra came from the horn of Biafra, from the side of Bayelsa, Oron, and those places. That is where. And it's not an Igbo man that named it Biafra. It came from a coined, language that brought together the horn of Biafra, and that's the name. And that is why this man called David Umahi don't know the burden and the weight the name carries and the suffering of the people, that he is now using politics, mere rhetoric for political gains, to say that Tinubu, one man, that did not even suffer during the war, that didn't shoot a bullet, that didn't carry a gun, or not even use as a child soldier during the 1967 to 1970 Biafran Civil War, because the war did not get to Lagos State or Ogun State, perhaps.
And that Tinubu now,
yes, that Tinubu now is the Biafra. That the Igbos, what the Igbos, the 3 point something million Igbos that died during the war, Children died of Kwashoko, people died and maimed, and David Umahi insulting the sensibility of the Igbos. I mean, he should be schooled. I don't want to use some certain word, but I know that David Umahi does not even understand the weight of what he's talking about, and the people that have died in the course of fighting for this Biafra of a cause.
All right, Ugochukwu, I know that you're very much angry. You know, I can feel
it's passion.
The tone
yes,
in your
it
voice.
is passion.
Like, you're very angry, and if David Umahi was here, I'm sure you would have spanked him.
I am a Biafran by blood, by generational identification. So hence I'm an Igbo man. Anywhere you go, they identify you as a Biafra. And that name tag, whether Biafra comes as a reality, as a country or not, it will be a tag on any Igbo blood till the world comes to an end.
All right. I hope David Umahi
gets
this message. You know,
even his children, wherever they are. And after dancing with Tinubu in Abuja, he will come home.
All right. In his statement, he actually points to ongoing road projects in the southeast as proof of Tinubu's goodwill. But then I want to ask, isn't infrastructure, is it not supposed to be development constitutions of our rights? I mean, citizens are citizens are paying tax, which is their tithe. We are paying tithe to the government.
Sunday,
rather than a political favor that demands total.
Their tithe now.
Exactly. So we are paying tithe, which is our tax that we are paying. This developmental, this infrastructure is supposed to be a developmental constitutional right as citizens of the country. And then David Umahi went further to say that 90% of Southeast votes should be given to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Given the deep-seated political alienation and recent voting patterns in the region, how realistic or delusional is this projection? Because this is delusional. I'm sure that man has what do they call it? He has amnesia to know that Nigerians don't even want people in the southeast. I'm sure they don't even want Tinubu. So how is this possible that they will give him 90% of votes from the southeast?
What the question that should be asked David Umahi is what is the look? What is the geographical outlook, and what is the infrastructural outlook, and what are the industries Tinubu's trip overseas, going to meet everybody, even the 750 million pounds that he got was for Tinkan Island and Apapa, jettisoning the other sections of the country. And another question you will ask David Umahi, or I am asking David Umahi and those who are, listening for him on his behalf, is what is the percentage of the ministerial appointments by the Tinubu administration for the Southeasterners? Then another question will be the federal character that is enshrined in the Constitution to bring all the fragmented ethnic groups and religion and tribes in Nigeria apart in terms of quota sharing. What is the percentage of as the Igbos are benefiting in the Tinubu administration? The Buhari left a landmark infrastructural blueprint in the south is the second Niger bridge. What are any of the coastal roads cross the east? Any of the railway? Is there any railway? As Minister of Works, how has he tried to connect the whole southeastern states? What is the nature of the roads from Ebonyi State to Enugu, connecting Abia State? If not for the grace God bestowed on Abia people, they stood their ground and the electorate emerged, that you will even pass Aba or Umuahia seamlessly. What was the nature of the place? What is the percentage of the job allocation on the federal employment quota given to the Southeasterners under David Umahi Tinubu administration? All the projects that is the super highway and super coastal highway, did anyone crisscross through the east. All the money Tinubu got for seaports and the empty ports, and they want to beautify Lagos and the southwest. Did anyone come to the southeast? Is there, I asked Umahi, how has he canvassed for a seaport in the southeast? How has he canvassed for a dry seaport? Let's assume that we're a landlocked region. Buhari had a dry port in Kaduna, sited in Kaduna State. He could attract one in Ebonyi State, so that when those in One and the Oron port, when they import their goods and they cannot bail it, they cannot carry it and go to Ebonyi State, so that when those people will come, they will get revenue. What is is there any international airport in the southeast? We're asking Umahi. This is a pertinent question. David Umahi, is there any international airport that somebody in the southeast could comfortably dress up and go to Margaret Ebo or Simon Bakwe International Airport and fly directly to Gabon or perhaps Cameroon? But if I want to go to Cameroon, which is very close to my backyard, I will go to Lagos or Abuja. Even the one in Port Harcourt, River State, is non-functional. You will still fly to Abuja and Lagos before you move to where you're going. So David Umahi has a lot of questions and a lot of convictions. And when you talk about being delusional and the voting pattern, perhaps David Umahi will metamorphose himself into 90% of votes and have 99% PVCs of Nigeria. And I'm very happy that his state, Ebonyi State, is not even Kano State. If he's talking about like a Kano State governor now that can produce 1 million votes plus, whether by magic or by hook or crook, and give the president, I will agree. What is the voting strength of Ebonyi State? That is what we have to ask Umahi. For Umahi to say that the Southeasterners who voted overwhelmingly 100% for P2B, that other political parties, even the Tinubu he's talking about and the APC, usually to turn the Igbos, that they voted sheepishly for Obi, and which I have no doubt will repeat itself in 2027. Let me see even how David Umahi will deliver his own Ebonyi State to Tinubu. Let him talk about his state and then not to talk about the Igbos.
We'll move away from that to another development where the
He's insulting us by using Biafra to equate a common Tinubu.
Can you tell us more about this development that the SDP, that's Social Democratic Party, has secured another landmark victory over INEC on election timetable? Let's hear you on this, Ugochukwu, very quickly.
The SDP, Social Democratic Party, a party that have survived about 4 or 3 decades. We recall that late Moshood, MK Abiola ran under SDP during the truncated 1992-1993 Third Republic by no less a person, because according to how the Catholics, say commonly that Jesus Christ died under Pontius Pilate does not exonerate him, and it is not a good name to Pontius Pilate. So that annulment of the June 12th general election, that they said is the freest and fairest, Kasi. But if you go by the primary elections conducted by SDP, by ADC and the APC, where the counting is 1, 5, 94, 105, 1,000, 100,000, then you will now have a sense of why Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida said that the result of that election cannot stand. I don't know if you can make sense out of what I'm saying, because if it's going by what we saw this week and last week during the counting of just party primary, how can somebody be stealing from himself? That's what the APC and the ADC did. Because Hayatuddin and Amechi can be a witness, because they disputed the counting of the election. So if APC saying that they are ruling party, they're on ground, and they are deceiving themselves by the type of counting that we saw. I wonder who will come and blame Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida IBB, the general himself, the Maradona, for cancelling that 1993 general elections, if going by what we saw. So that election that Abiola ran under SDP, and that party survived till today, that's still the Social Democratic Party. So now they went to the court to challenge INEC on their alteration illegally and unconstitutional alteration of the electoral guideline as provided in the 2026 Electoral Act as amended. So they now went and challenged, because recall that the Youth Party had already gone when Mohammed Omar, my lordship, Mohammed Omar, gave a landmark judgment that INEC has no right to alter what the National Assembly had done and what Mr. President has signed. And again, to solidify it, SDP, we didn't know that they were in court. They went to court, and kudos to their presidential candidate, who is Prince Adewale, who spearheaded them going to court, that INEC violated the 120-day rule under Section 29 of the Electoral Act. It struck down INEC restriction on candidate withdrawal, restoring the 90-day window stipulated by Section 31 of the Electoral Act. These are landmark judgments, though INEC has appealed that of the Youth Party, but I know that the law remains the law. Because if you look at it, you don't allow people to change their alliances and association. It goes to impede the inalienable right as a Nigerian, your freedom of association and movement anytime that you want. So that is what exactly they are talking about. And the court affirmed this SDP judgment was delivered by my lordship, Justice James Omotosho. Motosho is beginning to rewrite history, because this is a third judgment that is given that is really exonerating him after sentencing Nnamdi Kanu and what he did in the River State political case. So he says that INEC, though they have the constitutional authority to issue election timetable, it ruled that the commission cannot use its pre-election guideline to override or compress the statutory deadlines established by the National Assembly. That is as enshrined in the Electoral Act. The SDP verdict closely followed the similar ruling which I've talked about by the Youth Party, and a further closer look in this judicial development, it means that people can now, those who are aggrieved, who lost out in APC or ADC, can realign, and that INEC has no sole authority and has no power whatsoever, according to them, to alter the guidelines as stipulated by the Electoral Act, because the Constitution of Nigeria, which is a ground norm, says that any other law made in Nigeria, be it a bylaw by state assembly or by local council or by the National Assembly, that runs contrary to the Constitution, is null and void. And that is exactly what INEC have done, and it will not stand the test of time. So we thank those who have gone to court to question those things, and we are getting the judgment that we deserve. It's a win-win for Nigerians, and let's see what the outcome of the INEC appeal at the appeal court will look like.
All right, thank you so much, Ugochukwu.
Yes.
We look forward to seeing the SDP contesting in this 2027 general election. We've come to the end of the show, Citizens Dialogue. Many thanks, Ugochukwu, for joining us. It's a pleasure to always have you join us.
Yeah, our topics today are good, only that as it affects the Nigerian citizens, the Igbos as citizens of Nigeria should weigh how they are faring in the Nigerian state, whether it's favoring them, let them go with Omahe. If it's not favoring them, if this excruciating pain and hardship Nigerians are enduring did not favor them, let them use their PVC and speak 2027.
And to you, our amazing viewers, many thanks for watching. Do well to have a beautiful Sunday. It's a bye for now.